Welcome back to another episode of Cobra Kai Companion, and I'm Peter. Sitting across from me, not a broken leg, possibly an antenna. I'm not sure. Watch party. How are you doing, sir?
You know the antenna. Yes, I'm good.
Yeah. Do we know any heat massage? Heat is that a thing? Can we repair bunny ears with those?
Uh, we can try.
Maybe some tin foil. Just wrap
Yeah,
that up. I think we'll
there
be
you
good.
go.
All right, we're here to talk about skeletons. Episode 13 of season six.
Mhm.
Well, my favorite of part three. Before we get into the nitty gritty of this episode, just some updates. Not a whole lot since the last time we recorded. Watch party. Did you have any like smaller headlines worth mentioning?
Smaller headlines. Just like the big three's going to be at that con.
That's right, in New
At the end of
Jersey.
May. Yeah, in New
Salute to
Jersey.
Cobra
Yeah.
Kai
hmm
Creations Entertainment. So look that up if you're interested. Alicia Hannah Kim, Yuji Okamoto, Ralph Billy, Mary Tanner, Sholo. I don't think Jacob, Dimitri or Gianni's going. You got Josh Lamboy who plays Sensei Ivanov, and Nikita. I'm forgetting his last name, but he's one of the Tiger Strike guys as well. I believe he's the one that taunts Zara in the clapping. I believe that's him. He,
Oh,
he won't be there. Yeah, Brett Ernst, Dan a dude. That might be it. You already mentioned Josh and Hayden is
mhm.
was the latest addition. So yeah, just keep an eye out for that for those on the East Coast, on the West Coast. On the previous episode, I mentioned the Washington State Summer Con coming up with eight of the cast members. That one you will have Jacob and Peyton along with Raina and uh, Patrick Lewis, who plays Axel, Brendan H. Lee, who plays Quan. That one is on the West, and so that one I feel is going to be a really good one to go to as you have someone like a Reina and a Dustin or a Patrick Lewis. There's also a Dustin Lewis, but Patrick Lewis and Brandon to all
Mhm.
be together. They're not going to the New Jersey one, so who knows which one the three of them will be attending like in
Mhm.
the near future. So just a couple cons coming up. The other bit of news, Karate Kid Legends has premiered in a few different places around the world. Mexico is like where we've been seeing some content from, like the red carpet and such.
Mhm.
And it's the number one film this weekend, at the time of this recording. So that's awesome that a lot of people are going to go see it
In
there.
Mexico, yeah.
That's correct. Have you
Yeah.
heard anything about it yet at all?
I did earlier this evening because I just saw people talking about it, and so I did browse a couple of reviews, from these are just random internet people I don't know. Like it's and I saw mixed reviews. Some people were saying really good, and other people saying like wasted Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio. So that's all I can tell just from total random internet people.
Yeah, I think that the one thing that is kind of bittersweet is like it clocks in at an hour and 34 minutes. Sounds a little short for me, but I guess people are like, let's just kind of get into it. But if they are just getting into it and cutting out some of the, extra stuff, then people are going to be like, oh, they rushed it. So I don't know what people want.
Yeah,
So
the initial
it's
movie was long. Actually, you know, random tidbit, if you ever go back and watch the initial Siskel and Ebert when that movie came out in 84, I think it was Siskel said it was too long. He actually complained. He said the problem is this runs a little too long, but
Yeah, I wonder if it's some of those, scenes like I wonder if they talk about like, drunk Miyagi scene, which historically people have heard that story of that was a
Mhm,
scene the studio wanted to cut producers,
mhm,
and so um John G. Avildsen really fought for it and all that stuff. So the Hollywood Handle, I believe, is the news source. There was an article written on their website, and I did use used a little bit in the review where they mentioned, like Daniel LaRusso referencing, something from his franchise, and there's a fun cameo. So I kind of just used that and
Mhm.
made a post of it, and people were speculating, and then after like a day or two, people started saying like, oh, started commenting like, oh, I saw the movie. This is the cameo, and I'm like, okay, like, why are we doing this? The Cobra Kai's over, and there's this credit kid for, and people still trying to spoil things, and so I had to turn off the
I,
comments. Yeah,
I
first time
just
I've
searched Karate Kid Legends and I think I see a shot from the theater
oh Jesus.
of the cameo. So yeah,
Um,
if I like always beware of social media because now this is that I guess the movie is out legitimately in at least a handful of countries, Brazil, Mexico, I think a few others. So yeah, the spoilers will be abound, and it's legitimate for I mean for them it's out. So of course
right,
they're
right.
talking about it. Yeah,
That's true. That's true. They could be more mindful instead of,
yeah.
just giving people the answer in the comments. So yeah,
Well,
first time I had to
these
turn
days,
something
I'll be
off.
honest, these days they don't generally stagger releases like for like big movies. A lot of the
Yeah,
times, they release it everywhere in the world, on the same day, but this is
right.
actually an unusual marketing. But again, that's a Sony decision, right? So like
Yeah,
there you
they haven't
go.
been
I
making
mean,
too many
I
good
think it's
ones.
more on Sony than the fans. I can't blame fans for talking about,
Yeah, no,
if they went to the movie and saw it, they're just talking about what they saw.
and I wasn't like too proactively like promoting, legends. I've shared a
Mhm.
few things, stories and whatnot, but
Yeah, I
I
mean, I made a
didn't.
few videos on the YouTube, did
But
it.
I guess did you have any knowledge that they were like different countries were getting it a few
No,
weeks early?
I was totally unaware of this until
Yeah.
literally today. Like, I mean, I just
Oh.
haven't been as plugged in as I have been just because I've been doing wedding stuff. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I
Yeah.
was
I
unaware of this actually till just a few hours ago, actually. Um,
Wow. Yeah,
yeah.
I found out probably the day or two before.
Mhm.
Like, oh,
Oh.
Mexico, this weekend or whatever. I'm just like, what, really? They're getting it early?
Mhm.
So that's crazy. I think maybe even Mike kind of shared it first or was one of the first ones who um shared
I
where
must have
I
missed that.
saw.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. Anyway, so a couple more weeks for us, or maybe 3 more weeks for us. Yeah, three more, little under 3 weeks.
Hmm.
It'll be out soon enough, hopefully. Not too much more comes out in the meantime, but we will get into um skeletons here, episode 13 I mentioned. Just kind of initial thoughts, watch party. What did you think of episode 13 and um, you know, and I guess it being the last final 5 episodes, where does it rank for you?
Ooh, boy, it's a heavy episode. Like, one thing about these last five, it's like every episode is like the best in its own way. Um, like this is like the heavy episode, I think. The deep down, uh, the Johnny Crease stuff. Obviously, that's the stuff people think about the most. It's heavy. It's coming to a climax. This story that's been going on really since '84. And Karate Kid 2 especially. Between Johnny and Crease, this is all coming to that climax there and ending that storyline and Robbie with fighting Axel and then Axel himself, that fight and what Axel does and how Robbie takes it. And then of course, maybe the next big thing really, of course, is Daniel and his
Yeah,
moment with Miyagi. So, that's like the other big pillar of this episode. Obviously, hence the name, the skeleton. So
yeah,
um it's like the deep episode of the five. I don't know how else to put that.
yeah. It's it's also like the act two, of like a one full
Hmm.
movie. So you can go, you know, 11, 13, 15 with 12 and 14 kind of your intermissions. Um, we get all the heavy stuff out of the way, and then here on out, it's like a crazy ride, and
Right.
kind of crescendos to our like big happy ending. So I really love it. I love it for the feels. I love it
Hmm.
for some of his, lack of a better word, closures for some of our characters, like a Robbie. We're going to
Hmm.
continue to get Robbie, but he's going to have his big, meaningful monologue or dialogue with Johnny here.
Hmm.
Um, the things wrap up with Miyagi and Daniel. Pretty much, we kind of put Sam on the back burner after this episode a little bit as well until the finale. Great stuff with Tori. We address a lot of different things, closing things up with Tori, as we focus on, kind of the two fighters for the remainder of the show. So
Hmm.
really love what it's doing, making a whole 180, right? A whole 180, going back to the feels of season one and,
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
All Valley tournament feels. So, yeah, lots to say about this one, obviously. So, before we get into it, as usual, reached out to Amy to have her write up a synopsis for this episode. She writes, the Sekai Tekai gets some Fox Sports coverage, and everybody sits at home watching with various levels of irritation at how they're portrayed. The main takeaway is that Terry Silver is positioning himself as a misunderstood hero, being torn down by jealous haters, and that nobody knows where John Kreese is. Except that Kreese isn't missing, he is at Tori's home, beginning his apology tour. Um, I've heard of that one. The 2019. I'm not sure. Is it 2020 yet? Early 2020 maybe. Um,
Yeah. Hmm.
he wants her to know how proud he is, and he wants her to fight. He also wants her to know that this is goodbye. Over in the All Valley parking lot, he approaches Johnny for a similar conversation, but Johnny's just not there yet. Inside the arena, Terry Silver is officially dying. Amanda is officially a crazy karate mom, and everybody glares at each other with suspicion as Gunther lays out the latest of the ever evolving tournament rules. Our first match is Axel versus Robbie, which starts off well, but Axel has new moves that nobody anticipated. A motivational speech from Daniel does its job, but Axel isn't prepared to lose. Wolf and Silver won't allow it. So he takes Robbie out of commission via a broken knee. Robbie is crushed to lose, but Johnny is proud of him, and Tori is ready to avenge him. He has a lot of people in his corner now. Robbie may be at peace, but the LaRussos aren't. Sam doesn't want to fight, and Daniel is still struggling with his unanswered questions about Mr. Miyagi. His subconscious helps him along with that via a terrifying nightmare where he ultimately has to fight his literal skeleton clad demons side by side with his mentor. But his real demons are his abandonment issues. He wants to know why Mr. Miyagi left him alone. He wakes up with clarity. I'm sorry, Miyagi-Do isn't going to fight. Johnny is frustrated with his decision, accepting but frustrated because this is all he's got. As Daniel explains to him that he's realized the failures of their teachers aren't their responsibility to carry. Johnny notices Kreese brooding in the bleachers. He follows him into the hallway of sadness and says it all out painfully, explaining to Kreese that it wasn't the trophy or the attempted murder that broke him, it was being abandoned. Johnny has been carrying his pain for decades and it all spills out. As Kreese tells him he wishes there was any way he could make it up to him, a light bulb goes off over Johnny's head. Always up for a dramatic reveal, Gunther announces that Miyagi-Do has withdrawn and that without a new male captain for Cobra Kai, Axel is the winner. However, Cobra Kai did name a new captain, and out of the smoky tunnel walks the new old Cobra Kai, Miguel Tori and Sensei Johnny Lawrence, dressed in their classic yellow and black geese. Terry is seething, Wolf is pissed, and it's pretty hilarious. Tori shares a warm smile with Kreese, and Johnny and Kreese bow to each other one last time. Thank you, Amy, for that. Really great. Really summed it all up. And I'm glad that she did too, because once we get into the fighting, I'm just writing down like a few action beats. It's just,
Hmm.
I just thought it'd be boring to kind of go beat by beat for the fighting.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. We open up in Johnny's apartment. They're watching a video promo on TV about the upcoming Sekai Taikai. We have Johnny holding baby Laura in one arm and holding a banquet with the other hand. And Carmen is also there, and Robbie and Miguel. What'd you think about the promo?
Um, I actually liked it. It's not like new. In fact, you could have almost expected something like this is going to happen, but it's like a good take on the sports intro type for the Sakai Tekai. Like if this was really happening, like this is how I imagine it would be. So, yeah, I mean, I really liked it. The feel like we're watching ESPN. All the drama and every part of the promo, like with the family. Terry Silver like has some great moments. He's like, I loved Miyagi and we shared a student, I just loved like Terry Silver throwing his stuff. Zara's got her BS like back talking about the stuff with Robbie and everything, or when Tori hijacked her stuff, the women attacking women or whatever it was. Like I just like that, and seeing it feels really authentic. Like, yeah, this is the Sekai Tekai ESPN promo.
Yeah, you're right. It kind of like in, the other sports, right? The darlings, the favorites, they usually have some clips or sound bites from kind of the champions and
Hmm.
the favorites, and so you don't see anybody really from Miyagi-Do. Definitely not from Cobra Kai. Even with Miyagi-Do, they cut Johnny's sequence kind of prematurely. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, like I think that's also like just an element of realism, He gave like an hour interview and they take like one sentence of it, and like it's just like what the hell? And there's probably some realism to that, stuff like that happens.
Yeah, I thought it was to kind of maybe do like a soft reset on, like let's continue making like we're working Johnny up to be the underdog again, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
he's not gonna have anything. Like he didn't get his fancy intro in the promo, and we see how, his trajectory goes. He ends up not really having a dojo to fight for until Kreese
Hmm.
comes along.
Right.
um, yeah, I liked it. At the first watch, I did not recognize these two gentlemen. I did not realize that they were actual commentators for other sports, other than karate. They kind of mentioned that. So,
I would have
um,
expected it. I didn't look them up, but yeah, I would have expected it.
let's see here. I'm trying to see if they mention anything. Winner advances to the girls' final, where she'll face Iron Dragon superstar Zara Malik. On the boys' side, Miyagi-Do's Robbie Keane versus Iron Dragon's Axel Kovacevic, and it all starts today. Okay, let's see here. We do see Robbie looks like, he does mention that he's a little bit nervous too, and the last time he fought Axel didn't go well. Now, I thought
Mhm.
this was interesting because he says gonna be a lot more people watching this one. I thought maybe the last one was gonna be a big deal. This is just, do you think is it because it's gonna be held at like the All Valley, and that in itself is a big
Yeah,
deal?
yeah. Basically, previously the biggest tournament in America was the All Valley Under 18. But now that this is taking place in the All Valley Arena, it's the Sakai Tekai in the All Valley Arena. That now makes it the biggest tournament in
I
America
see.
and hence the world. So yeah,
Got
so
it.
now obviously every American and certainly everyone in the Valley is 100% tuned in. Like if you went
Right,
out
right.
on the streets, there would be no one out because everyone's watching this Sakai Tekai promo right now.
Right. Unless they're all out running, in a mob.
Well, not
Uh,
yet. Yeah. No.
Not yet. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah. My interview, turn it up. Yeah, we already skipped all that. So we go to LaRusso's, Daniel sitting with Chosen and Amanda. And I thought this was interesting too, that, Daniel says, we did it, Chosen. We brought Miyagi-Do to the world, but it doesn't feel like it would. How do you think he thought it was gonna feel like? Like, I mean, I don't think he was anticipating like, oh, more students that want to come and learn from his school of karate.
Um, I think a little bit it's because of the context after Quan died it shuts down, they come back, and it's like finally, they're on ESPN or, whatever, the TV, and it's like not exactly the context he wanted to be in. Not to mention they're down. So
Right, right. We see Tori doing sit-ups. She's doing them in front of the TV and punching towards the screen when Zara's on. The sit-ups, it kind of reminded me of like Miguel training, like in season one, where he's also kind of doing that. It's
Mhm.
nothing. I mean, we see it often, but I like the fact that I feel like they're the only two we've seen do that.
Yeah. I like
Um,
that she's punching Zara like on the
right.
TV.
Yeah, a little motivation there.
Hmm.
Um, let's see, we got. This is when Kreese comes to pay her a visit.
Hmm.
He tells, basically apologizes for failing her as a sensei back in Barcelona. He admits that he treated her like she was some sort of soldier in his private war, and he regrets letting her down and regrets letting Juan down. Um, and then she asks, like, is Yoon gonna fight? Do you think if that was like a deal breaker for her, because she still goes into the competition by herself. So I thought that was kind of interesting too.
I think it was just more of a straight question. Um, she probably never had anyone's contact information, and she was probably told Cobra Kai agreed to come back, which theoretically they did. So as far as she knew, everyone was coming um at the time, and she just figured no reached out to her because she knew he agreed to come back because that's why they put on the tournament. And so I think it's just more of like a straight, like, what's been going on? Is Yoon going to be the one to fight then? Um,
Right.
that's how
Okay.
I take it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. He mentions that she's the last of the Cobra Kai,
Hmm.
and he only did that so that way she could fight and that she could be a champion. And he understands that she doesn't want him in his corner. But I feel it would have been nice, for him to still ask. But I don't know. I think that would kind of change the dynamic of this apology, right? Like because
Hmm.
he's trying to say goodbye. So.
Hmm.
Um, he does say goodbye, and she asks, "Does it have to be?" And he says he's afraid so. And I feel like we kind of brought this up uh, in a previous episode. Like he says that he has like one last thing to do.
Hmm.
What did you think that was? The one last thing?
I mean, I think it's Johnny. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
then Silver is like kind of in addition to the things that will follow.
yeah, I think Silver is not necessarily on his mind at the moment because and when we get to it, what he says is it was a more of he made a decision in that moment. It wasn't something he was planning.
Got it.
So
We go to the All Valley Sports Arena and we see
mhm.
the classic red mats and hundreds of fans flooding in. Um, Gunther is saying a lot of different things here. I don't know if there's anything that stuck out to you. Um, it's just just kind of welcoming everybody, kind of a small montage. Then we see the Eagle
Mhm.
Fang van pull up, and Miguel says, "Brings back some good memories, huh?" And Robbie's like, "Yeah, well, good ones for you. You won here." And I
Mhm.
think it was kind of a line where I'm like, "Well, damn, Miguel." Like, I know that he wasn't trying to like rub it in or anything like that, but
Mhm.
my first thought was like, well, he could have been a little bit more mindful. But I think that maybe
Mhm.
serves more of a purpose to kind of remind like the audience, like, hey, the last time we were here, yeah, was season one, and Miguel won that. And
Season
Robbie,
4, but
oh, well, yeah, he didn't win that one.
yeah, he didn't win that one either.
Wow, okay, hold on, let me read that again. Brings back some memories, huh? Yeah, good one for you. You won here. Well, once, and then he
Yeah.
hurt his back with the second one. That's right. I kind of forget that one because that didn't really. Well, I guess that ended. Tori won.
Yeah.
Hmm. That's
And Robbie
interesting. Okay.
lost, so,
Right. It's always just bad for him, but it's just, I mean, it
Mhm.
was one good memory for Miguel. The other one, he ended up just like leaving to Mexico right after. So,
Yeah.
um, Now let's talk. Okay, what do you think of Kreese's uh, speech here? This is like kind of Marty's big moment here in the final five episodes.
Well, it's definitely something I knew was coming. And in fact, I always thought they would have an encounter in the parking lot. I didn't know precisely how. Um,
He just shows up.
yeah, yeah.
He walks there, Uber maybe.
Yeah, I knew Johnny wouldn't want to hear it. Yeah, Kreese knew Johnny didn't want to hear it, but he had to say it anyway. So, yeah, that was something he had to do because he was as much doing it for himself, but he knows Johnny maybe needed it too, even though Johnny was like fighting against it. I think yeah, what I wrote, it's still it my the only thing is, especially that first time, I just always felt like it was such a fast heel turn for Kreese just from where he was in part two to here. Um, it's just like he's a complete 180 almost. Um, he says,
Yeah, I
"Yeah, okay." I'm looking. I'm sorry, I ruined Cobra Kai. And I was like, does he feel it was ruined? What about Korea? Like when did he ruin Cobra Kai? Did he ruin it in 1984? Did he ruin it in Barcelona? I guess that was like kind of what I was thinking.
yeah, I do wonder if maybe maybe after the events of part three, like it was ruined, because he talks about like, Johnny brings it back up, or he
Mhm.
brings back Cobra Kai.
Or you could
Um,
say season 3 and 4, like he took the dojo from Johnny. So like Johnny brought it back and then he took the dojo and that's maybe and then that ended up ruining Cobra Kai because then
oh,
he had
actually,
the dojo taken from him.
yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm,
like that better. Kreese
mhm,
takes the Johnny's dojo thinking he can do what he did back in the 80s. That doesn't go well because these are Johnny's students, and look what
mhm,
happens, the fight at the school, and
mhm.
because all of that, Kreese was starting to kind of get his hooks into
Right.
Johnny's students there,
Mhm,
Hawk and all of them. So yeah, I would say that earlier in the series.
mhm,
What I do like is that Kreese says when push comes to shove, Johnny Lawrence always does the right thing. Jumping a little bit later, he says, "When you lost to LaRusso back in '84, you handled it like a man." And then we
mhm.
see that, you're all right, LaRusso, right? And
Yeah.
so people have always asked, like John, Josh, and Hayden, about that sequence in Ace Degenerate, and they
Mhm,
talked about how, well, from Johnny's point of view, he didn't say that. If he says that, they can't really start off where they want to start off, right? Um, and then it kind of allows that rivalry to still be there. And
mhm,
so I do like it, kind of imagining that Kreese and Johnny just kind of remembered it differently. So what we see in the Karate
mhm.
Kid still happened. Kreese
Of
remembers it.
course.
Johnny didn't because of his
Johnny
son.
didn't.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
I always took that as that was Johnny's memory.
okay,
Especially the way, that opening sequence and then it cuts to him sleeping. It's like that's just what he remembered. He had forgotten
right.
it. Um, and I think, wait, did they show it on the TV? I think they showed it on the TV, didn't they? In the intro?
What's that in the intro?
Oh, let me
I don't
rewatch
remember
it.
now. You know what? I mean, I might be able to. I had the crane kick, but it cuts to like the do.
Oh, they don't. Okay. Maybe it's a different part then. But then
It
he
could be a
does
different part.
remember it in the later scene for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
Um, yes, and then I like how it ends. Oh, he says left all that garbage from my life on your doorstep and made you carry it for 35 years. I'm sorry for that, Johnny. And
Mhm.
he just says, I gotta go watch my son fight. And then, yeah.
Oh no, no, no. Okay, hold on. Wait, I was just watching. It does show the part where he's next to Daniel holding the trophy and he's like patting him.
In the
So
promo,
yeah,
right?
he's there. It's actually a deleted scene from the movie.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah. As he walks by, he gets a little bit.
Yeah,
It's kind of
because it's right after he handed him the trophy. Um,
he
so it's
walks off like
actually
kind of.
something that was cut from the movie, I
Oh, I
think.
see it. Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
It's roughly 1 minute and 27 seconds or something like that. And you see
yeah.
Vidal in the background too, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like Vidal's walking by, Johnny's kind of just like he looks back at the trophy as he walks off. Yeah, kind of almost as if he's like in a daze, you know?
Hmm.
Just couldn't believe what happened. So that's
Yeah.
what I love that they continue to find, some
Hmm.
footage from the original movie and just kind of work it into like these final episodes. So,
But see, like I can imagine Johnny seeing that on TV is starting to trigger his own memory now. So
mm,
that's the way I take that. He's like, wait, I was next to LaRusso with the trophy, like, got my arm around him, like so it's subtle, like it's not in dialogue, but like he sees
right,
that,
right,
and then later on he's gonna remember it.
right. Let's see. We get the reintroduction of Derek Vidal, who will be the let's see, the guest referee. I wanted to make sure if they gave him any other titles. And let's see, we got Amanda as the karate mom, right? We all been talking about that. She kind of turned into, was it Patricia? Was that the Xander's mom's name? Does that sound right?
Oh boy,
Yeah,
it could be.
could
It
be.
sounds close anyway.
Somebody will correct us. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I do like this sequence where when Amanda like she jumps up and shouts out like "kick his ass, Robbie" or whatever. And
Mhm.
if you look at Diora's face, who plays Shannon, there's a like a reaction that she gives where it's almost as if maybe Courtney was told to kind of like throw in a line, improvise a line at this moment, and caught Diora off guard. I'm not sure who she's looking at, but it's like it's maybe the director or something, and she looks at Horny as if like I did not see that coming. You'd have to look at it, but I'm just like I like to think that that part was not scripted at first.
Mhm. By the
Um,
way, it's nice that
yeah,
Shannon finally came to one of these.
absolutely. We have not seen her since season 4. Yeah, right before the prom, I think. We didn't even see her in season 5.
Yeah, yeah.
So
And she
we
had never
get
been in
the
any of Robbie's tournaments.
Right.
So,
That's true. She was with those other guys, so she's been making progress. Absolutely. Here in
mhm.
the final five. Um, Terrence, let's see. We thought it was gone, but it's back. He asks how long? 6 months. So, well, what's the word? Not is it remission? It or where?
Well, that would be something cancer when it's
Right.
going
Oh well.
down. Yeah. Or wait, no,
Okay.
when it comes back.
Hmm. Let's see. We thought it was gone, but it's back. Well, I guess
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
kind of keep that a little ambiguous big
Ambiguous.
whole help. Thank you. It did. It wasn't sounding right coming out of my mouth. Um,
Ambiguous.
ambiguous. So yeah, it just made me think that it was that. When something's
Yeah.
gone and it came back. What else could it be? But anyway, it is terminal. Whatever
I
it
mean,
is,
that or head lice, but yeah, probably something.
that could be headlights. They do come back sometimes.
They do.
Um, and you know what? Maybe it is because Silver continues. Those sons of bitches ruined my reputation. It could be like
Hmm.
with his hair. Maybe he's talking about the hair and not his like karate rep. They took one thing left in the world I cared about. If I'm going to hell, I'm taking them down with me. Love that line right there.
Hmm.
All right. So I know that you have to, well, you don't have to. It's down to the three dojos, but then you have like all the international fighters to come as well as spectator is to still give like that Sekai Tekai flair, right? To give that feel. Without that, then it is just another All Valley. I think you want to save that for the finale, but what did you think of the arena, the look, the staging? You know,
I thought it looked kind of like the season 4 tournament, just
yeah,
not twisted, but modified for the Sakai Tekai.
yeah, different
Um,
banners.
yeah, yeah. It's not my favorite look. I wish they had a bigger budget and a bigger arena and everything for Barcelona and here. But I've accepted it, I guess. I'm in the acceptance phase of grief.
Oh,
So
good. Very nice, very nice. Welcome to this phase. Um, I do like this part where Axel kind of looks over at Sam, and she catches him looking and has this reaction, kind of like, "What the fuck?" And he's a little embarrassed that he got caught looking, and think what this is when Sensei Wolf is like eyes on your opponent, and so he still has the hots for her. It appears. Uh, do you have any of the notes, or do you have any notes down for like the rules or the point structure? I have it down just in case if you wanted to know.
Um, I mean, it's basically they're picking up where they left off, essentially,
Mm,
starting over with Robbie and Axel, but nothing specific about that. No.
yeah. Just if anybody wanted to know, it's 1 point for a hit, 10 for a knockdown, and 20 for
Mhm.
a knockout.
Right.
And let's see here. Now, did not expect to see Chris and Mitch show up again. And Mitch is showing up with some like nacho cheese. Chris asks him if he got any extra cheese and jalapenos. And then, they have a moment of silence for their fallen competitor, Kwon Jae-sung.
Mhm.
What do you think about Mitch eating during this moment?
I thought it was funny, and I wrote they don't do moments of silence well in the valley.
No, they really
So
don't.
yeah.
And because there's a moment of silence, everyone's gonna hear Johnny shout over like "Venus breath," even if you're
Hmm.
whispering it, like it's supposed to be quiet. So I don't know. I just thought that it was a little disrespectful on Mitch's part, obviously. Yeah, because they're having a moment of silence for Quan, but just for anybody,
Hmm.
you would think somebody would wait. So I guess
Yeah.
yeah, we go back to
I mean,
calling it Venus breath again.
it's not like when Xander asked for a moment of silence to end what was it? Prejudice in our
Johnny.
time or whatever,
Yeah,
intolerance in our time. Well, then maybe you eat the chips through, but this one, come on,
yeah,
guys.
that one. Right, exactly, exactly. Let's see here. So some of the beats that I have down, dude, he's using moves we've never seen before. But I don't know. I guess we're not gonna get into the Binary Brothers operating system when it comes to the predicting thing. But
I will
we
say it's the sort of thing I really don't like because we basically had a whole episode or a plot line of this whole VR trading. Ooh, it's the Binary Brothers with their technology. And then after round one, it's like, oh no, he's using moves we didn't anticipate. Now Robbie's training is worthless, which is really what the point is. It's like,
mhm.
well, now all Robbie's training can't help because he's using different moves, which doesn't really make sense. I mean, how many different ways can you punch and kick? I don't know. Like
Yeah, I
it
don't
just
really.
feels like it's like they're just sort of hand waving the previous storyline of the the training away. So we
Right.
did all this VR training that was really cool, and now it gets hand waved away because he's using new moves. I don't I don't
Um,
I don't really buy it. It's probably my least favorite part of this episode, if not even part three. But yeah.
yeah. Robbie scores first, and everyone on the Iron Dragons is disappointed. Terry Silver kind of does his little hand through his hair, the ponytail thing that we've seen
Mhm.
in the Karate Kid Part 3. Sensei Wolf is not happy, but also Zara is scowling at him. Everyone is disappointed. Uh, and then, so he goes from 1-0 Robbie, and then the next time we see the scoreboard, it changes a few times, but
Mhm.
at one point it does get to like 2-7 Axel, and then Axel just continues to like rack up the points at that point. Did you have anything prior to Robbie getting injured?
Um, Let me look.
There's a couple lines, very, very much taken from Rocky. He's a machine. Um,
Well, I do
I,
think, yeah, I do think like Wolf and Silver overreact because they are like 60 points ahead or something. Like theoretically, they're almost unreachable.
yeah,
Like,
mathematically, like they are
yeah,
winning.
yeah. Like Robbie scoring 1 point. I feel like, I mean, okay, it's a little bit of a show, or that's their character. Okay, so like, oh, Robbie got 1 point, and Silver's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
maybe a little bit too much. I wrote I kind of wish Robbie was doing a little better than he was because it was like Robbie's like making a move, but like the most he can do is tie it, you know? Like I would have liked to see at least Robbie a little ahead or something before Axel kind of does the back break.
Yeah, I think I understand why. I mean, it's basically to show that Axel's almost untouchable, right? If
Mhm.
if Robbie has more dubs, he's not as much of a threat, I guess, going
Right,
into his
going into the
battle with
next
Miguel.
episode. Yeah,
That's
I get
really
it.
it.
I get it.
Yeah.
You know. Um
But I do agree with you. It sucks that for the especially the like the Robbie stands, right? Where it's
mhm.
like, man, he can catch a break in season one. Season
Yeah.
two happens and the Miguel's not there and the Hawk wins. And then here we go. Here's another chance. And then he gets his, leg broken. Um, so let's see here. He doesn't have a lot of confidence at this point, and then I have Daniel's speech to him. Daniel says, Robbie Keane not knowing how to adapt, that's a first. You've never had things easy, Robbie. You've been knocked down every which way more times than anyone I've ever known. But you've also gotten back up more times too. You stood up to Freeze, to Silver. Whenever you knew something was wrong, you stood up. Even when you had to do it alone, you turned your rival into your best friend. You patched things up with your dad. No one has adapted more than you. So tell me, can you do it again? And man, that's got to
It's a
be one
good
of his
one.
best speeches.
Yeah, that's a
That's
good one, definitely. You know,
that's a damn good
yeah,
one.
it's
Yeah,
almost the highlight of at least it's Sensei Daniel.
yeah,
Really.
yeah. I was like, man, what's the clip that I want to throw on at the beginning of this? And I'm like, man, that's a nice inspirational one, but it's a little long. But
A little
I don't
long.
know. A little long. Might be maybe just a little bit longer than Johnny's proposal, which I think I used for the last one. But we'll see. We'll
Mm.
see. Um. Okay. So fight, fight, fight. Chosen. Oi, knock him on his ass. And this is when he says he's small but fast. And says don't. Wolf says don't make excuses. That was pathetic. And then whispers it to his ears. I I just like how he's a little ominous, but yeah. They fight, they tussle, and then uh Robbie shouts out his knee in agonizing pain. Now,
Mhm.
I was a little what did you think of Vidal's commentary? He says, from what I saw, they both got tangled up and they both hit the mat. I mean, so no point scored. I don't think they got tangled. Did it
Well,
look like they got
it's
tangled?
from what he saw, Peter.
That's
You know.
fair. That's fair. It's so frustrating because it's like but I guess
I
as
think
that
the idea is you know, Axel's a little bit smarter that he knows how to kind of hide it and make
sure,
it look
yeah,
like part of the regular fight, you know. I wasn't trying to do anything, you know, so that's obviously what it is.
yeah, I guess I don't know what could have made that better for me, but it was just the comment and maybe the way it was edited wasn't quite jiving for me. Um,
Mhm.
I would have liked to, but it's also not in Axel's character to be cocky because if he was, I don't know, I don't know. I didn't like that line for Vidal, but I understand why he had to say it. So we go inside and we have a very similar thing. Chris Rafferty, who wrote this episode, which I forgot to mention, Chris Rafferty wrote it, and Joel Novoa directed this
Oh,
episode.
we did forget that. Yeah.
Yeah, completely missed it. Um, Chris mentioned that in the original film, Daniel like hits his fist like on the table, right? And so
Mhm.
here he locker door slams and damn it, in the very similar way. And so this is where we get the chosen. Do you know how to? I just, if I would have loved that better in in season one when he first calls a medic, but I know there was no chosen to ask. But maybe
Mhm.
if he asked a medic, like, "Hey, do you know how to do any, the heat massage?" Like, I would have liked that better than him
Mhm.
calling medic and it looked like he was going to do it himself, but then just calls for a medic. But that's just me.
Yeah.
Um,
I almost always felt like that that line was just a little bit in there because every fan is going to ask, "What about the Miyagi healing technique?"
Sure.
You know,
Yeah, it
it's
is
like, yeah,
perfect because yeah,
it can't repair a completely split bone or whatever, you know.
yeah. Bo needs time to heal, but
Yeah,
I do like it because Chosen is there now, so that's kind of like your
right,
substitute for Miyagi.
right,
Um,
exactly.
Now, Robbie's speech, I really love this. He's coming to terms that he's not going to be able to fight, and the gist of it, I like the end of what he says. Again, this is kind of like Tanner's last big moment, really.
Hmm.
Um, he says, "I guess instead of focusing on the things that I lost, I want to focus on the things that I've won. Karate's given me all the best things in my life. I mean, it's given me my friends, it's given me my girlfriend, it's given me my dad." And then Johnny says, I'd say that makes you a winner in anybody's eyes, especially mine. Gives him a kiss and says, I love you, man. And so Chris Rafferty also mentioned that there's like a kind of a natural end to where he wrote it. And he mentions that the kiss was not scripted. So that's something Billy did. And I think what follows was improvised. That's my guess. But if there's a cut when it goes to like a upper shot of Tanner, the way he's like kind of smiling back at Billy, it's almost as if like, well, that's good. Let's keep that. Tanner, you have to react. Like I feel that was kind of the direction, but it looked like an organic smile, for like, it's like Billy saying it to Tanner for real. It's like, I love you, man. It's like I love you too,
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So really, really, really love the moment between those two. So do you have anything else before we cut back to the Russos where Sam is training or
Um,
doing, karate stuff?
I, yeah, let's see. I mean, I basically wrote again that I wish Robbie did better, but it's an understandable way for him to go out. And karate brought him and Johnny back together. And I think maybe I do think there's like a subtle theme of this whole saga, this whole series is, you know, karate heals all wounds, and maybe that's even true for Robbie, even though his leg is broken or whatever, still karate healed more wounds than it ever gave him.
Right. Yeah, at least it's not like career ending, right? We don't know that yet, but it doesn't seem to be that too
Yeah,
serious. It's just in a lot of pain.
yeah.
Um, we go back to the LaRusso's training room, and Daniel walks in, says, "Looking Jersey tough," and this is where we find out that, or Daniel pretty much deduces that Sam doesn't want to fight.
Mhm.
Um, you're you're good with kind of how this ended up with like um Sam not wanting to fight because of Tori, like like Tori has so much more writing on this than she does.
I mean, one complaint, I feel like they would have known this beforehand. And Miyagi-Do is already out of the running. Like it's like she only now realized this. Like, I mean, I was saying it after part two before part three. So certainly they would have known it. And I don't know. I actually agree with Sam. I get it. Like she doesn't really have much writing on it, and Miyagi-Do's out. It makes sense to me, you know?
Right, but yeah, yeah. I mean, we're gonna find out the answer for the like the male captain, but
Mhm.
in a way, I kind of felt like they're not necessarily turning their back on anybody else, but I mean, Tori still can't continue on without a sensei, but I think this is kind of them hoping that we're not questioning too much into it,
Mhm.
because it's all going to play out in the same episode. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Of
just one of those
course,
things.
also Sam could have fought, thrown the fight, and let Tori score like 60 points on her.
Yeah,
So Cobra
yeah.
Kai could, but I guess
I mean,
she's
she did
not that type
say,
of dirty.
she did say that, I feel like she was about to give Tori a chance to possibly try to kick her in the face and all that. So,
Yeah,
um,
get a knockdown
it's
at least.
yeah, we go to the back of Miyagi-Do. We see Daniel sitting on well, I guess the porch, right? The porch is just right outside of the door, picks up a couple Sanders, and we kind of
Mhm.
get like that little, feels from the original movie where he had Sanders and had that moment with
Right.
Miyagi right
Mhm.
before the big reveal. Um, and what did you saw the Inside the Dojo part two, right? Going into this episode, I'm assuming.
Um,
Did you
I
see any behind the
saw them
scenes of this?
all, but I don't remember them at the moment. Which one are you referring to, or like what part?
Just kind of Daniel in the backyard. It's nighttime, and he's like in the blue jersey that's reminiscent of the first
Hmm.
Karate Kid film. Because I did catch that Inside the Dojo, and that's when you get to see like just very few cuts of like these figures in skeleton costumes, and yeah, and we did know that it wasn't going to be a painted face, that they were actually wearing skeleton masks, so or skull masks.
Right.
So yeah, I knew that this was the sequence. I'm just like, ooh,
Hmm.
how are we gonna get there now?
Right.
So but when it came, when I saw him in the backyard, I did immediately wonder, is this already the start of the dream?
Like I didn't never thought it was real. Like you knew it was going to be a dream.
Okay, but like as soon as we saw that, we're already in the dream though, is kind of what I'm asking.
Yes, I think so. I
Okay.
think that the
Okay,
dream was from the beginning. Yeah.
got it. Because I just thought maybe it was one of those things that yeah, I don't know. I think there was like a little bit where it was kind of reality, but then it
Well, yeah,
ends with a
but
dream.
he wakes up in his bed, right? Like if he woke up
Yeah,
at the dojo, like he fell asleep in the backyard or something, then maybe you could like argue back and forth. But like he wakes up in his bed, so it's like a completely different spot.
yeah. And I guess that was the other thing too, right? Because we understood that initially they had conceptualized this sequence with a young Daniel and young Miyagi
Right,
fighting back to
right.
back,
Hmm.
and so we can't do that, but maybe we can put them in the same jersey from the first movie, and it's like okay, that's Daniel as his adolescence, right? Him
Hmm.
as a young boy. So
Hmm.
um, a couple of the lines that are being spoken as he's in the backyard. We got Silver saying, "Danny, Danny, Danny, you're getting in that ring." Free says it's open season on him and
Hmm.
you. Then we got Dutch saying, "What's the matter? Mommy not here to dress you." Um, let's see what else. You couldn't leave well enough alone. God, you had to push it. Now you're gonna pay. Give him a body bag, and I think ah, and then we get the we do not trade to be merciful here before we see Mr. Miyagi show up and fight. Any comments about the fight sequence? I just watched it again today, and it's still great. It's still fantastic. It's beautifully shot, well choreographed. Obviously, they just redo the fight sequence from the first movie where Mr. Miyagi saved him for the first time.
Yeah, it's just I guess this was Ralph's idea, and it was sort of one of those perfect scenes. I think the show needed it. It's going to go 6 seasons, getting Daniel and Miyagi side by side. Um, it was kind of great. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm.
So after they both kick ass, Daniel says, "Why didn't you tell me you fought in the Sekai Tekai, that you killed someone? Why did you leave me all alone without any answers? I've been fighting so hard, Mr. Miyagi, trying to do what you do, but we can't win. We can't. We can't win." And then he says, "Daniel-san, answer, same place as always. Remember, Miyagi teach win, lose, no matter. No need to fight." What is he? Remember, Miyagi teach win, lose, no
Win,
matter.
lose, no matter. You
Win,
make
lose, no
good
matter.
fight.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the commas will throw me off. And we're gonna find out from Daniel the next day that, let's see here, you figured out something that I've forgotten too often. And I love that he finally acknowledges that, to kind of just let us know, like, okay, if you acknowledge it, at least we're going in the right direction, for Daniel, as we end the series here as well. Um, and it was important to kind of hear some of that dialogue from the previous Cobras, especially Johnny, where it says you couldn't leave well enough alone.
You're right.
It's always Daniel, you know.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, would you any comments on this sequence with Daniel and Sam the next morning here?
Well, yeah, I just wrote that I felt like it was going in that direction. Um, it, it makes sense in what Miyagi taught and believed. It's best not to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So I would say Sam. Oh yeah, that I wrote. Yeah, Sam could have thrown the match and let Tori score like 50 points. I'm just saying.
yeah.
It's the sort of thing I think of, and did she not even think of that? Because like Tori advancing, but without scoring any points for Cobra Kai doesn't really help him a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just
It,
saying.
yeah, no, you're absolutely right, but it's probably an integrity thing, amongst martial artists to not throw it in that manner, I suppose. That's
Yeah,
a
and
lot of
throwing
points,
it actually intentionally throwing a match could disqualify both of you. Like there could be something like that. You know,
and if it's that many
people are
eyes,
people are gambling on it. Of course, this is the Valley, right? So,
there's that, and you can tarnish the legacy that way too. But like, wait
right,
a minute,
exactly.
the
Mhm.
way they went out was not even like honorable.
Yeah,
Let's see here. We cut to the match the next day. I think no, it's the same day. And Johnny says, "I get Robbie, but you and Sam, why are all the original Miyagi-Dos okay with not fighting?"
Mhm.
So I do like that, and I don't
yeah.
know
I
how.
read that they pulled the rug under Johnny, which I think is
Yeah,
true.
absolutely. Because do we need? I guess we do need it to take place here, right? Because I'm thinking like, did Daniel have to be in his gi? Because they're withdrawing, basically,
They
right?
still show up for the formality. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Because I'm trying to think. So they show up, and so Johnny wants to fight. He says that's the only thing he knows how to do. By showing up formalities, you got Samantha LaRusso. Um, I'm
Mhm.
trying to find the actual what Gunther says. She has elected not to fight, officially ending Miyagi-Do Karate's impressive underdog run. And then Zara questions if she still gets to fight Nichols, basically letting us know that she does want to fight her, and then
Of
that's gonna
course,
happen.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Um. So I guess at that point, with Sam electing not to fight, it would go down to Corey. I'm trying to think because the first fight. Oh, the first fight are the girls, but it's not until the next day.
Hmm.
So right, because I forget that basically the next episode picks up immediately after this, so it's like the exact same moment. So
Yeah,
yeah,
which brings up to my favorite plot point that the show doesn't really dwell on. All these fans came here to just see Sam and Tori fight, and then Sam conceded. So imagine you bought a ticket and came here, paid for parking, bought some concessions, and then the one fight that was going to happen didn't happen. It's like, okay, go home, come back
yeah, but
to
I would argue the outcome of the alternative is going to be much better because you wouldn't have gotten that with between Sam and Tori. The teeth.
oh, okay.
Again, it's coming up, so I didn't want to mention it. Okay, let's talk about the speech here between Johnny
Mhm.
and Kreese in the hallway. Uh, Obviously, both of them acting their asses off. He says, "What the hell was that yesterday? Bringing up all this stuff from the past. What, you
Yeah.
expect me to forgive you? I'll never forgive you for what you did. I loved you,
Hmm.
man." And then I just love what Marty does here. Freeze, like those words pained him. Johnny
Hmm.
hears this from several people in his life, his wife, his sons,
Yeah.
all these people. When's the last time Kreese heard someone say that to him? You know? And so
Oh,
to
yeah.
to hear it from Johnny, especially, like
Hmm.
probably the last person he felt he loved himself, say it to him, that must have pained him really hard.
Yeah.
Um, Johnny says, idolized you, everything good, every 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 good thing about myself, strength, confidence, karate, you taught me. I only wanted to please you. So yeah, that night in the parking lot, December 19th, 1984 was the single worst moment of my life. But what hurt
Hmm.
even more than being choked out was you abandoning me. You
Hmm.
threw me out away like trash right when I needed you most. And you have no idea what those years were like. I trusted no one. And I think this is when right about here is when Kreese tries to put his arm on him the first time or touched like his arm and then he like smacks it away. I
Hmm.
feel just no one, least of all myself, all because of you. So there's a lot to unpack, but we're not going to unpack it all. But any of these lines
Hmm.
specifically stick out to you that made you think of like any event in Johnny's life, or even things that we have seen thus far in the entire series. You know, like him not trusting himself. An example of that. Was there any example that popped into your head when he
Oh,
said that?
I think I would say going back to Billy's previous great scene when he in 203 when he
Hmm.
talks about when Robbie was born, and I think that was it. Like he didn't trust himself to be a father, and that's what
Yeah,
caused all the trouble. So that's what I would say first immediately. Um,
yeah,
it caused him,
that's a
yeah.
great one.
Mhm.
Let's see. Oh, because you, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, son. I can't change the past. But yeah, just a great embrace. I just love that first touch was very much like, don't you fucking dare touch me. You
Right,
know,
right.
and then he's like, please let me in, accept my apology. And then Johnny opens up and
Hmm.
allows him to embrace him. Ah, just so beautifully done. I love it.
Hmm.
If you have nothing else to add there, we can move it
Well, I
along.
mean, I will
Yeah, yeah.
say I predicted all this in 2019 when I made Creases that video I made after season two. I basically talked about all this, what the problem with Johnny's life wasn't being choked out. It was that he lost Crease and he never had any sort of guidance or father figure from that. And, where he might have needed it at future points. Instead, he had Sid, and you saw how Sid acted about Robbie, like Robbie existed for Sid to like rub it in on Johnny. Um,
Hmm.
so,
Right.
and yeah, Crease, whatever it was, Crease wouldn't have let Johnny skate by. So he would have demanded the best of him because that's what Crease did. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah. So, I mean, I don't like to toot my horn
Go
all
ahead.
the time.
Right. Just
But no,
sometimes.
it's a good thing. It's not necessarily Johnny forgiving Crease or anything like that. It's Johnny coming to terms and just getting over, the past trauma and being able to, now go ahead on his own, sort of.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, at the very end of their embrace here, yeah. If there's any way I could make it up to you, and I continue to make that joke, he's like, "Yeah, you got 25 Ds, with my students' names on them." So there we go. Uh, so yep, Miyagi-Do officially ending their run. And let's see here. Silver did tell Zara, whether or not she fights Nichols, they still won. And so this concludes the no, semi-final matches. Cobra Kai not naming a replacement for their falling captain means that Axel Kovacevic automatically becomes our new male champion. However, Cobra Kai has named a replacement, joining Tori Nichols. So Team Cobra Kai will be Miguel. That's a funny thing too, the way he puts the emphasis on the L instead of I guess the Miguel. Do you
Mhm.
catch that? How he goes Miguel Diaz. He holds
He's
that
saying
L.
it like a German, I
Oh,
guess.
is that right?
He's German.
You think so?
I guess so, probably.
Uh, but yeah, and then let's see. The only thing else I
Although
have is
I
that
love his like twist. It's so much to say. So they the one, which is what I would be saying, except they didn't.
right.
Like it's the most just like
It's
straight
like the long-winded way to get around
misdirection,
it.
like
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah, it works, the first time
Yeah.
because I was fooled. I was like, wait, what the hell? Like yeah, it worked on me. So it did what it was supposed to do. Says that Wolf says this is bullshit. How can they do that? And Terry Silver tells them that they're former Cobra Kai, and then we see Miguel and Tori. kind of just embracing everything in their black geese with the
Hmm.
yellow trimmings, and we see Johnny, with his smirk and Snake. That's it
I
for
mean,
that
I like that
episode.
Tori was there earlier in the Korean gi, and then she switched
Yeah,
over to the quick
she's
Tori,
got
put on the other
she's got
one.
them both. She's got them
Yeah.
both. Yeah, that's I did not that didn't even occur to me, but that would have been funny if she still fought in that same gi, the
Yeah.
Korean one, because that's the one that got it made it to the final round. So.
Hmm.
As always, I actually, you know what? Any last comments about this episode here, skeletons?
That's a deep episode, but
Okay,
really great. Yeah.
yeah.
Love it. Hmm.
All right. The group, we got just a few comments in there. If you guys want to leave feedback, we have two more episodes left to review. You can just search the Companion Network group on Facebook. So the first comment comes from Doug. He says best episode of the series, and I completely agree with. Well, no, 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 no. I say it's the best episode of part three. I'm not saying of the series, but it's a
Oh,
yeah,
oh.
yeah. I'm not saying of the series. No way. Um,
Hmm.
but it's a damn good one. So thank you for the comment there, Doug. The next one comes from Randy. He says, I guess this is as good as a time as any to bring up some questions, observations about Sekai Tekai Valley Edition logistics. Please excuse me for this exceedingly long post. Presumably, the original schedule was supposed to be day one, male semifinals, day two, female semifinals, day three, male and female final matches. Of course, all of this got tossed aside when Cobra Kai announced Miguel returning, and the sensei matches, and we ended up getting this male semifinals. Day two, no matches because of the announcement of Sam stepping down. Then the announcement of the revised Cobra Kai lineup. Day three, male and female finals, and day four, sensei tie-breaking match. Not only this, but based on what was depicted on the screen, the schedule also made time for training between days two, three, and four, whereas these additional training days may or may not have been figured into the original schedule. Silver is largely footing the bill, and he is likely trying to spend down his money before he quote unquote shuffles off this mortal coil, which may allow for booking the All Valley Arena at such an erratic rate, as well as likely footing the hotel bill for the Iron Dragon's likely ever increasing stay. Schedule related, did all those people gather for at most two matches on each day, including one gathering where there was no match fought, in all caps? Does this maybe perhaps explain why there were so many other attendees and gis, even gis that did not match the Miyagi-Do, Cobra Kai, nor Iron Dragon color schemes? Perhaps there were other exhibition matches fought simply to fill up time and justify having people presumably pay for admission. Also, school is still going on for most of these kids. How do they work all this into their schedules? Did the Sekai Tekai simply take place over their spring break? That might be a good guess. Could be. I guess it's my own fault for overthinking the logistics of the Cobra Kai universe. Logistics aside, there were some beautiful moments aside from the hopefully Emmy Award-winning Johnny Kreese moment, which I'm sure will be discussed at length during this episode. The smile that Tori gives to Kreese as he bows to her has such a beautiful childlike quality. It almost seemed as if she had that parental moment that she had been longing for. Yeah, we I kind of completely skipped over that, but Amy mentioned it in
Yeah, the
her
very end.
synopsis.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, Tori's reaction is definitely different from Miguel's reaction. I think Miguel is almost like, like this is my moment. Like I'm supposed to be here, And I think with Tori is a sense of like, I feel complete now. Like I have, my grandfather here. I got my, surrogate father here as
Hmm.
my sensei, and then like,
Hmm.
my ex-boyfriend. Yeah, but we don't look at it that way, But she can fight as a complete dojo, so love that for
Hmm.
her. Let's see. And then he ends it with, I love how the post-injury locker room scene started off as a beat for beat and line for line recreation of the scene from the original Karate Kid, but then flipped the script for a resolution that Miyagi would have been proud of. Yeah, 100% agree. Thank you, Randy, for that. Really
Yeah.
great observations. And he's definitely the one that, oof, when it comes to those logistics and rules, boy, Randy will tell you how he
I
feels.
thought it through all too, but
Uh-huh.
you just gotta like kind of just go with it. Yeah, I would say there's probably exhibitions. In fact, we actually saw, I think at the beginning, right?
Zara, yeah.
There was some stuff going on. So you can assume there's exhibitions. All the other dojos from the Sakai Takai are there, even though they're all eliminated, but they like theoretically showed up. So they could be doing stuff. And it seems like ultimately, and this moves forward, like the training schedule or like the competition schedule is like every other day. So they're doing, then they're gonna have a day off, and then they're gonna have those the championship fights, and then there'll be a day off, then there'll be the sensei fights, you know. So that's the
It-
way I look at it.
yeah, is there, do we know where we are in the timeline in the year?
I think once they came up to COVID, they just fuzzed it, you know, whatever. It's an
Okay.
indiscriminate time, you know,
So
whatever.
just
Don't worry about it.
sometimes, so
Stop worrying
it
about
could
it. Yeah.
actually, sure, sure, sure. So could the students have graduated by this point? Because it's not the All Valley, it's just
It's
Sekai Tech High.
well, yeah, because keep in mind in episode 5, it's like Sam's graduation and stuff. So yeah,
Okay, yeah,
maybe it's like you know May, late May, June, you know, whatever high school would have been done or something.
right, yeah. Um, and you know what? When it comes down to just these like final X amount of people, I'm sure it's a little bit easier to kind of coordinate, right? Like, oh, as long as they're not missing school, if they are still in school, we're
Yeah, but
gonna
then they
pick
brought every
a weekend one for them.
dojo in the world there anyway.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, and but also one could also argue like they're only sending the ones that were able to make that flight,
well, that's
because
true because some
yeah,
of
because we're
them are
not
different people. Yeah.
exactly they're just about like almost everybody's is different. Definitely not the ones that were like the actual captains from part two.
Hmm.
So
Right.
let's see. The next one comes from Jeff P. He says this is one if it's not my favorite episodes of the entire. This is one of my favorite episodes of the entire series. The Johnny moment with Kreese had me in tears, and it was a reconciliation that I never knew that I needed. Robbie's handling of his injury left me feeling a strange pride. I mean, I get that these are fictional characters, but man, that kid is so mature, and I'm proud of him for it. Finally,
Mhm.
seeing Miguel and Tori come out, a freaking thunderstruck was the icing on the cake. I love that song.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
underscores the moment perfectly, especially with that badass look on Miguel's face. And then he added, I also really love that very subtle callback to Rocky Four when Johnny glances up to Wolf from Robbie laying on the mat the same way Rocky looks up from Apollo. I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. Well, I'm
Mm.
assuming that's right after his injury. Yeah. And then the last one comes from Dorian. He says, where to
Mhm.
begin? I'm glad that they did use Moto Ki, which is healing hands, like Mr. Miyagi did with Daniel. Chosen was right. It's not magic, and unlike Daniel's injury from Karate Kid 1, Robbie's patella is broken and needs to heal. The dream sequence was so mystical and the ideal fan service. Daniel needed this closure from Mr. Miyagi. Billy gave the performance of his career in the episode. His
Mhm.
scene with Marty in the hallway was so powerful. I'm just going to say it. Eminem, can I get a hell yes? And finally,
Mhm.
great season two callback for Thunderstruck and a fitting song as the song is about the shock and surprise of an unexpected situation. Johnny and Miguel return to Cobra Kai because Cobra Kai never dies. Thank you, Dorian, for that. Dorian is Australian, just like the uh oh gosh, is it Airborne that sings Thunderstruck? I believe that's correct. Yikes.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah. But yep, thank you guys for leaving the
Very good.
feedback in the
Yeah.
group. Yeah. So yeah, next episode we have the last strike last. That's right. Strike last, not the last strike. Um
Hmm.
that one will we'll get to that as soon as we can. Watch party, nothing in the works, right? You're kind of on a bit of hiatus. Are you still planning to do streams on Mondays prior to
I
your
do. You know
vacay?
what happens is I keep forgetting, like because like we're sitting there and like we're ranking. programs, going over guest lists, and then I look and like, oh shit, I forgot to stream. Um, but yeah, I'll try to do streams. I want to jump in. I mean, there's a Squid Game trailer that came out. I would like to cover that, but um, I'm trying. I'm trying. I'll be in when I can get in. Um,
Yeah, just turn on those notifications and
mhm.
you'll see them.
There you
At the
go.
very
Well
least,
said.
yeah, just check it out on repeat like I do sometimes. So
Yeah.
all right, well, that's gonna do it. And until the next episode, that asshole cheated. I'm gonna murder him and his entire team.